This one is a letter. Not a lecture, not a list of tips, a letter written directly to you, the parent who said no today and then lay awake wondering if you made the right call. Maybe it was a toy at the checkout. Maybe it was the new phone everyone at school apparently has. Maybe it was something smaller, a snack, a sleepover, a pair of shoes that cost more than your electric bill. And your child looked at you with those eyes and said the words that every parent dreads. But everyone else has it. And something in you wanted to give in. Not because you're weak, because you love them. Because saying no to someone you love with your whole heart is one of the hardest things a human being can do. But I want to tell you something today that I hope you carry with you long after this video ends. That no, that quiet, uncomfortable, guilt-soaked no, it might be the most loving thing you ever say to your child. Let me show you why. I want you to picture a mother. Let's call her Elizabeth. And one evening, her daughter Mila, maybe 8, maybe 9, comes to her with that particular kind of frustration that only children can produce. The kind that lives somewhere between a question and an accusation. Mom, why do you always say no when I want something? And Elizabeth could have deflected, could have said, we'll see, or maybe for your birthday, or because I said so, but instead, she sat down, and she told her daughter the truth. Because I don't just want to give you everything you want, I want to teach you to appreciate what you already have. Mila pushed back, the way children do. But the other kids have everything, new clothes, toys, phones. And Elizabeth said something simple, something that didn't come from a parenting book or a podcast. It came from a place that most parents instinctively understand, but rarely have words for. Every family is different, and in our family we choose what is essential, not just what shines. That conversation stayed with me. Because in those few sentences, Elizabeth was doing something that decades of research in developmental psychology now confirms is one of the most protective things a parent can do for a child. She was choosing depth over dazzle, roots over things. And the science behind that choice is both humbling and hopeful. Here's the part that surprises most parents, and I say this not to create guilt, but to create awareness. When we use material things, toys, gifts, treats, gadgets, as the primary language of our love, we are teaching our children something we never intended to teach them. We are teaching them that love looks like things. Research note: a landmark study by Richness and Chaplin, published in the Journal of Consumer Research in 2015, surveyed over 700 adults and found that children who regularly received material rewards gifts when they accomplished something, toys as expressions of affection, grew into adults who were significantly more likely to define their self-worth through possessions. More things meant more love. More things meant more value. And that equation followed them into adulthood, into their relationships, into their finances, into their sense of self. The researchers were careful to note something important. These weren't cold or neglectful parents. Many of them were warm and loving. They gave gifts because they cared. But the unintended message their children absorbed was this: I am what I own. And here's where it gets harder. Adults who build their identity around possessions are, according to prior research cited in that same study, at significantly higher risk for financial debt, relationship problems, and chronic dissatisfaction. Not because they're bad people, but because the goalpost of enough never stops moving. There is always a newer phone, always a shinier thing, always someone else who seems to have more. We don't mean to teach this, but if we never examine it, we pass it on without ever choosing to. So, what's the alternative? And how do we offer it without feeling like we're depriving our children of joy? Back to Mila. Because she asked the question so many children ask, even when they don't have the words for it. Is it because we don't have enough money? And her mother said something I want you to hear slowly. It's not a question of not having enough, it's a question of values. Money comes from our time and our work, and I prefer to use it for what truly matters. Safety, love, and the future. That answer didn't shame Mila. It didn't dismiss her longing. It invited her into a different way of measuring richness. Research note: a 2010 study by Chaplin and John, published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology, followed adolescents aged 12 to 18 and found that what reduced materialistic tendencies wasn't lectures about money or moral instruction about greed. It was emotional support, parental warmth, being seen, heard, and valued as a person, not as a performance to be rewarded. The study found that children with higher emotional self-esteem, the kind that grows from feeling genuinely loved, not from receiving things, simply needed possessions less to feel good about themselves. Read that again. Children who feel emotionally full don't hunger for things in the same way, not because they've been denied, but because the deeper need, the need to feel valued, to feel seen, to feel like they belong, is already being met. This is what Elizabeth was building in Mila, one honest conversation at a time. Not a child with less, a child with more of what actually lasts. There's a line from that conversation that I keep coming back to. Elizabeth tells Mila, sometimes saying no to something means saying yes to something else. And Mila asks with the beautiful literal logic of a child, like what? Like saying yes to memories together, to simple but real moments, a homemade snack, a walk, a hug. Those are things no toy can replace. I know how that can sound. Idealistic, even a little cliched. We've all heard some version of memories over things, and yet we keep forgetting it, because the toy is right there. And the memory requires something from us, our time, our presence, our willingness to slow down. Research note: a 2019 study published in Applied Developmental Science tracked 101 parent-child pairs over 7 days and found something quietly remarkable. Parents who practiced and modeled gratitude in daily moments, not grand gestures, not gratitude journals, just small, consistent acknowledgments of what was already good, raised children who expressed measurably more gratitude themselves. Day by day. It was cumulative. It was contagious. Gratitude, it turns out, isn't a personality trait some children are born with. It's a practice that parents model and children absorb. And the entry point for that practice is exactly what Elizabeth was teaching Mila. The walk, the homemade snack, the moment of sitting together and saying, this is enough, this is good, this is real. When a child grows up in a family where ordinary moments are treated as worthy of attention and appreciation, they develop what researchers call a gratitude orientation, a default setting that notices what's present rather than fixating on what's missing. That orientation is protective. It's linked to greater life satisfaction, lower anxiety, stronger relationships, and more resilient mental health, not because life got easier, but because the lens changed. Because I know that knowing all of this doesn't make the moment easier. When your child is standing in the store, and the tears are starting, and you can feel the eyes of other parents, and you just want the moment to be over, theory doesn't help you. So let me offer you something practical. 3 things you can say in the moment, instead of either giving in or shutting down. The first, name what they're feeling before you hold the line. I can see that toy looks really exciting. It's hard to see something you want and not get it right now. You're not caving, you're not pretending the feeling isn't real, you're just acknowledging it, and the moment a child feels heard, the emotional temperature drops. They become capable of hearing you. The second, give them the why in language they can hold. Not because we can't afford it, not because I said so. Something like, in our family, we think carefully about what we bring into our home. We choose things that really matter to us. You are giving them a family identity, a set of values they belong to. Children find enormous comfort in that, even when they're frustrated by it. The third, offer something real in place of the thing. Not a consolation prize, something genuine. When we get home, let's make that snack you like, and you can tell me about your day. You are showing them, in real time, that your presence is the offer, that you are the yes inside the no. At the end of their conversation, Elizabeth looked at her daughter and said something that I think every child needs to hear, and every parent needs to remember they have the power to say. You are richer than you think, Mila, because you have everything that can't be bought. And Mila said, okay, Mom, I understand. Now, I don't want to be naive. Children don't always say, I understand, and mean it completely. Understanding like that is built over years, not in one conversation. But the seed was planted, and seeds planted in honest, loving soil grow. You are not the parent who says no to be cruel. You are not the parent who withholds to punish. You are the parent who says no because you are paying attention to something longer than this moment. You are building someone. And that takes more courage than giving in ever does. The research confirms what you already feel in your gut. What your child needs most is not more things. It is more of you, your steadiness, your values, your presence. The no is not the end of the sentence. It is the beginning of a different, richer conversation. The next time your child asks for something and you say no, try this. Don't just close the door, open another one. Say, that's a no, but here's what we're saying yes to instead. And then follow through, with your time, with a moment, with your full attention. Do that consistently, and you won't just be raising a child who handles no better. you'll be raising a person who knows how to find richness in the life they already have. Drop the word ENOUTH in the comments if this resonated with you today. I read every single one. And if you're walking this road, the road of intentional, values-led parenting, share this with another parent who needs to hear it. You might be the reason they stop feeling guilty about the most loving word in their vocabulary. I'll see you in the next video.